Hello, everyone, and welcome to the QI Podcast. I am your host, DJ 10th Power, coming to you from Lions Den Studios. I'd like to give a special shout out to our producers, Angry Bull Productions. You know, everybody has a favorite artist or a favorite group. Mine is Prince and the Revolution. And we happen to have snagged an interview with keyboardist Dr. Matt Fink. Check this out. Welcome to the QI. I'm your host, DJ 10th Power. Today, we are honored to have Mr. Dr. Fink from Prince and the Revolution Band. Welcome to the Lions Den, sir. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, thanks. Considering all of our predicament at the moment.
Yeah, it's been kind of a long day for the both of us.
Yeah.
Let's jump right into it. I know that I guess it was in the 70s that you joined Prince's band, and you had a connection through the drummer Bobby Z.
That's right. Yes.
Do you remember how the audition went? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Actually, this was in the basement of Peppy Willie's house at the time, which was in South Minneapolis, just a few blocks south of Lake Calhoun, actually, south of downtown Minneapolis. I don't know how many people out there have been to Minneapolis, but
I have not.
Okay. And where are you based, by the way?
Right now, I'm in York, Pennsylvania, but I was born and raised in New York.
Ah, okay. Great. Okay. So, well, anyway, I have a lot of friends in New York, but so it was in the basement where they were rehearsing, and Prince knew Peppy through a relative as well, and Peppy was helping Prince at that time in his career. And anyway, long story short, I walked down there. Prince isn't there right away. Gail Chapman, the other keyboardist who was already on board, was down there at the time, and she said, "Here, let me show you around. Hi, I'm Gail. Prince will be here in a little while, And then she started showing me all the equipment that Prince had for the band. That he had tour support. In those days we actually had tour support from the record label. The artists that they signed would be, granted, it wasn't a ton of money in those days.
Right.
I mean, for our rehearsals in those days, we were made maybe $250 a week.
Really?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
That's it.
I thought you were paid per show even back in those days like they do now.
No, this is late 1978. We were just a fledgling group who joined Prince after he created his first album. And we were going to go out there and promote the first album a little bit. So we literally rehearsed about 2.5 months, not even that, really, with the material for his first album. Mm-hmm. And then we performed a show in January for people from the Warner Brothers label. They flew into Minneapolis, and we played this little theater in North Minneapolis called the Capri Theater. But anyway, so Prince comes into the rehearsal, and he says, "Nice to meet you, da, 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 da." And then he said, "You want to jam for a while?" And I said, "Sure, let's jam." So we jammed, and then after we jammed for maybe half hour, seemed like at least a half hour, maybe more even, and he said, "So, what songs did you learn off the album?" And I said, "Well, the single, Soft and Wet, and then Just as Long as We're Together. And I think there was one more I mentioned. I don't remember now. But So Blue," he asked me if I had learned So Blue. And I said, "No, I never learned that one." He goes, "There's no keyboards anyway." And he laughed because he was testing me and joking at the same time. Because nobody told me to learn that one anyway. But I didn't remember for sure if there were no keyboards, but it's true. It's just guitar and vocal, and that's it.
Wow. Okay. Now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. That was the story of how the audition went, and then we jammed, and then I played the other songs, which were Soft and Wet, and all the ones I mentioned, and then I told him, I said, I couldn't hear the clavinet part in Soft and Wet that well in the mix. Do you think you could show it to me exactly how you played it? And he said, sure. And then Prince showed me the clavinet part, and I learned it on the spot, and I think that impressed him, and that's why he hired me. Part of the reason, because actually he mentioned to me at the time later. He said, a lot of people auditioned. There were some other contenders, that I was considering to be in the band, but nobody asked me except you to show them the part to that, and none of them ever had it right until you actually asked me. And you were right; it's kind of buried in the mix.
So that stood out to him.
That impressed him, but also the fact that I actually, just said, "Hey, I need your help." Number one, and number two, well, whatever. Just being and having the technical ability to handle it quickly, when he showed it to me, I guess. So there it is. I'm not trying to, toot my own horn too much.
Why not? You guys.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
So, okay, I'll be honest with you now. My brother, my oldest brother, already was on the Prince bandwagon from album one. I didn't join on till the Controversy album, but I used to sneak into his records once he left for college. So I've never heard, to this day, I've never heard the Dirty Mind album, but I did hear his second album, which had I Want to Be Your Lover and I Feel For You. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, there's a little something here, but I didn't even know there was a band at the time when that was going down.
Yeah.
So the band that became known as The Revolution, was that with the Controversy album or was that with the Dirty Mind album?
No, the name The Revolution was never used officially until, some people say it was 1999 because it was presented cryptically, because it says the revolution back, or just revolution backwards in the football of the eye of Prince.
Yes.
Right. And then there's that. And then, but I don't think he was calling us Prince and the Revolution yet. I don't remember it that way for sure. I could be wrong. I've had this verified by a few other people, and that it wasn't really used until the Purple Rain album.
Okay. So during this period with the, I guess you guys started opening for Rick James on what album?
That was the second album.
Okay.
Yeah, Prince. It's called Prince.
A very interesting show. Mike Judge presents Tales from the Tour Bus, and there was an episode where Rick James and the Stone City Band, they did a 2-part series on them, and in this series they of course mentioned Prince and his band, and they mentioned how funky Prince was, but they claimed that every night they kicked you guys' butts on the stage. And I wanted to see what your opinion was. I hear their opinion, and I expect them to say that. I wanted to hear
who said this again one more time?
One of the band members of the Stone City Band.
Oh, they said they kicked us?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, let me just put it this way. How's that? I was like the outsider looking in, really. I was watching everything going on backstage. I was watching interaction. I love to go and hang out at the side of the stage and watch them perform, the Stone City Band and Rick, because I really respected them quite a bit. And here they were, really, in a sense, Rick James was giving Prince a break to be an opening act. Right? Or maybe it was the booking agents. Who knows who persuaded who to make this happen? But there was definitely a rivalry right off the bat, no matter how you look at it,
Right.
So, yeah, they were the headliner. Yeah, yes, they kicked our ass. Sure. But we were some pretty strong upstarts. I'll tell you that, though. There were some nights when even Rick was a little concerned. No question.
I believe that. But
they
definitely.
did
definitely give you guys your respect, and I have to tell you, I'm a big fan. As you can see, I'm grinning from ear to ear just having this conversation with you.
Mm.
I have multiple copies of albums by you guys. And when I say multiple, I mean I have Purple Rain alone on cassette, vinyl, and CD. And I bought even the remastered version on CD because it contains that infamous concert at Syracuse from 1985, which is one of my favorite concert DVDs to watch.
Yeah.
What was life like on the road as a band with Prince?
Well, you're in a bubble, and you're just traveling and playing and traveling and playing, like any tour with anything. And then if you have a day off, which happens occasionally, you can do something in the city where you have the day off, and usually I, would devote time to the arts in that city, check out what was happening in the arts scene in those places. And I would sometimes write music in the hotel room. I carried a little mini 4-track cassette machine so you could do some sketches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be it. But at sound check, Prince was jamming all the time. He was always recording sound checks, and so was I. I have so much of that stuff. Just rehearsals and sound checks and all that, because I used to record them so I could relearn in the dressing room what we did at sound check if there was a change of a song or a new transition or arrangement, whatever, while we were on the road. And that way I could review it and perform it that evening.
Now, my questions may come across a little weird, but I just always, even as a kid, I always wondered a lot of his albums says that he wrote, produced, performed, blah, blah, blah. So how was it that when you guys, I don't think you guys just sat there and watched him do it. So I'm wondering, how did you guys learn the songs? What's the process of learning the songs, or were you actually there?
Well, a lot of people who work for him, got to record with him. Not on every song, obviously. And then some of us in various forms would just get handed the tape. Here's the finished album. Go learn it.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So there were some albums where I would be playing on a few songs, or I had a co-write with him on one song, maybe. And then, or some albums where I didn't do anything on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he handed me the cassette and said, okay, we're ready to start rehearsing. Go learn this. And go to the engineer and get keyboard mixes so you can hear everything properly, so you don't have to hear it buried in the mix like in the early days with Soft and Wet. He didn't say that, but that's what he's thinking, So
well, one of the hottest things that when you buy a record by you guys is that, a 12-inch or even a 45, you would get a quality B-side on there. And I could see in some of the notes that I read on you that even 17 Days, you have a co-writing credit on 17 Days, which is one of my favorite B-sides.
Yeah, everybody in the Revolution had a writing credit on that, including the song America, too, off of Around the World in a Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I have 2 copies of that album.
Yeah.
Vinyl and CD. One,
yeah.
And I think that album was that a moving from Purple Rain to Around the World in a Day? To some people, it might come across as drastic, but if you're a fan, you just didn't care. You were just happy to be getting product from Prince and his band. What was that process like for you? Did you think it was too much of a turn left?
What, to do what again? Sorry.
The Around the World in a Day album.
Oh, well, I didn't think it was too much left. It just surprised me a little bit, because when we ended the Purple Rain tour in April of 1985, I believe it was, towards the end of April, he told us that he was going to end the tour. We'd been on the road about 6.5 months, and he wanted to end the tour and did not want to go to Europe or Australia or Japan and continue to do a world tour of Purple Rain. So I said, well, how about just doing Europe? I know you're probably tired. Why don't we take a little break and just do Europe, take another short break and just do Japan and be done with it. And he said, no, I really want to move on, and we're going to take a break. I'm going to take at least a year or maybe more off, and you guys can do whatever you want. You can go do a solo album, go produce whatever you want for other artists, write songs. I don't care. You'll be on retainer, blah, blah, blah. It was wonderful. It's like, oh, wow, thank you. Great. Next thing you know, 3 months later, here's Around the World in a Day, guys. But he had brought Wendy and Lisa in, and Lisa's brother David was involved, and I think, I'm not sure if Wendy's brother was, but definitely Lisa's brother helped with some things. In particular, I think he co-wrote Around the World in a Day, the song itself. So, David Coleman, brilliant artist. And so something else. The people that Prince surrounded him with, so surrounded him, the talent was amazing.
Both you and Lisa are both classically trained. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Lisa's more extensively trained than me that way. I mean, I did that. Probably started really playing classical in earnest probably by the time I was about 9 or 10, but not real complex pieces.
No Tchaikovsky or anything like that.
No, nothing major yet. I started when I was just 6.5, maybe closer to 7 with lessons. So by then, and then I do remember at the age of 12, by that time, I had a piano recital, and I played, I think, 6 of the 12 variations of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star by Mozart, which had been written by Mozart when he was 12. But he did these 12 variations of Twinkle, Twinkle, and by the time you get to variation number 12, it's like concert pianist all over the place doing this wild version. So I did play that version actually at the recital, and it was I played it flawlessly, and everybody just loved that, and it was very inspiring. But then after that, but then by the time I was about 14, I kind of slacked off on the classical because I wanted to learn jazz, improvisational jazz. So I went to my father and I said, "Do you think we could find a jazz teacher in town? In fact, I've heard about this one guy that some other guys, people I know, are taking lessons from. We should look into him." And he said, "Okay." And then there were these 2 guys in Minneapolis. They were called Tom Weekland and Herb Wigley. They were partners. They were the teachers. And I went to Tom Weekland and studied with him probably from the time definitely from the time I was 14 till I was 18. So it was like a 4-year degree with Tom Weekland. But at a very young age. He was an accomplished Hammond player. He was one of those guys that could play all the melody in the right, all the comping left hand, and the bass with his feet on the Hammond B3. An amazing player.
I'm still tripping off of you at 6. I mean, at 6 years old, I had one of those box little phonographs that you could carry like a suitcase, playing Peter Pan records, and I could sneak and maybe play my parents' James Brown and Staple Singers records.
So was I. I was doing the same thing.
But you're learning classical piano, like
not yet. No. The first. No, I told you by the time classical really, I started to really play some classical. I was like 9 years old.
Yeah, I mean, still.
I was playing simple melody, and you're learning simple stuff to start with.
And you do the 2-hand thing with the keyboards also? You do that in your sleep, probably.
Yeah, I'm capable of doing 2-handed stuff and sing at the same time. That's like juggling, it's like juggling. It's kind of like the brain juggling.
What do you feel that you've learned from Prince in all of this time that you've been with him? Because I believe you're like the one that's been with him the longest in his band.
Well, in actuality, one of the longest. There's some other people that were there off and on longer than me, like Morris Hayes, who came after me He was there a really long time, and Levi Ceasar was actually there longer than me before he left. Other than that, the only other collaborators, maybe Eric Leeds or Sheila E. were maybe equivalent to me, total, in the total time that they had their tenure.
I really meant as far as the Revolution.
Oh, the Revolution, yeah. As far as the Revolution, yes, me, because I was in the Revolution from the beginning with Bobby all the way through the end of 1990 with the first 4 years of the New Power generation as well, the first version of that.
Mm-hmm. Which was the Sign of the Times.
Yeah, and Love Sexy era, and the Nude tour, which was the Batman album era too.
Okay.
Right before Graffiti Bridge.
I saw the list of countries that you guys hit with the Nude tour, and you guys were still doing, like, on occasion 2 gigs a night.
Oh yeah.
Exhausting?
It could be. It could be. On the Sign of the Times tour, I was in the warm-up act, which was Madhouse. Then I did the main show, and then Prince in some of the cities would do an after show with us.
Madhouse, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of my questions. How did the concept or the idea of Madhouse come about? There's not a person I don't know that doesn't have an album by Madhouse.
Well, the Madhouse concept was all Prince's.
Really?
Oh, sure. Of course, because he's the mad scientist, even more than me, the doctor. He's the mad scientist. Think about it. He's Einstein. He's Einstein. He was Einstein, man. He was the Einstein of music from Minneapolis.
Let me get. Oh, I never did get you to answer the question. What did you take from Prince after all these years, or one thing or a couple of things that you still put into practice to this day?
Well, he taught me to be, have a work ethic. I've never equaled his by the way, but that he inspired me to have a stronger work ethic. No question. Be more ambitious and those kinds of things.
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, Ultrasound was your 2001 solo release.
Yep. I had some other stuff too that I've done that's like solo type instrumental albums that people may or may not be aware of. But anyway, go ahead.
Cyber Monkey.
Yes.
Is my jam. That's. I mean, there's others that I like Night Flight and Nobody Cried. But when I play, I could work out the Cyber Monkey all day.
No kidding.
No kidding.
Wow. Well, that's great. I'm glad you like that song.
I think the whole album is dope. And I see that you've worked with Puff Daddy and you've worked with Shock G as well.
Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
And I'm thinking, it's like, why haven't I seen him or heard of him work with rap artists? And here you have worked with rap artists.
Yeah, but nobody of major significance yet. But soon I will be. But what? Go ahead.
Yet is a good word, because with what I know that you could do with a keyboard, I'm really surprised.
Well, I did do one interesting project quite a while ago now, but where I completely redid, I think it was 4 of DMX's originals.
Really?
Yeah, they needed to have them sound identical, like re-records, exactly like his original songs, because when you do that, he can take control of his masters again and put new vocals on top.
Okay.
And retain his masters. It's kind of a music business trick that some people do.
I think I did hear about another artist doing that whose name escapes me at the moment.
So his whole catalog, a whole bunch of songs were done by several producers, and we all put it together for him.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Now the Revolution has reformed, and before the virus came along, you guys were doing shows. What was that experience like?
Great.
To have all the members together again and jamming.
It's fun, traveling. But we're no spring chickens, so we have to do it in, we don't like to stay out for long periods of time, maybe 10 days to 12-day stints, like in Europe. We did something in Europe like that last year. And we were supposed to go to Europe again in July, but obviously that's been postponed. And we were supposed to go to Japan this year, and that was postponed. So,
Right.
And then we had a few dates in the U.S. that were going to be booked, and were booked, but one was in Canada, but they're all, forget about it. Forget about it. Got the freaking virus here. What can I tell you? Okay.
What can we see from the Doctor in the future, in the next 5 years, say?
Well, yeah, how about right now? There's some interesting things that are about to come out that are going to be interesting. Okay, so the first project is a video game that's coming out in the spring of next year, and that's called Rhythm Rumble, which is produced by a company here in Minneapolis called GameSmart and Pixel Lakes. And anyway, they're part of the company I work for there in Minneapolis, one of the divisions.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, the soundtrack, we've got like 8 composers, including myself, on the soundtrack, because every genre from jazz to classical, is there, like 13 genres of music in this game. And there's going to be more to come in the future from various artists. It's all instrumental, and it's a lot of fun. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be on the Nintendo Switch platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah. And then there's an artist who I've been producing for the last 3 years. Her name is Michelle Rose, and she has her YouTube channel, Michelle Rose Music.
Okay.
And you can catch all that material that we've been working on for the past few years.
It's already out there?
Oh yeah. And she just released a Halloween video that was written and produced by my son, Matt Fink, who's his stage name is Max Millie, spelled MVXMILLI. Max Millie.
So is your son, did he start as early as you?
What's that again?
Did your son start as early as you musically?
His own what?
Did he start playing the keyboards and everything as early as you did?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, he did.
Runs in the family?
Yeah, it runs in the family. So yeah, he's out there in Los Angeles writing and producing and releasing material now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I saw an interview of you somewhere where you said you was hoping to move out to LA, but you're still in Minneapolis.
Yeah, no, we're thinking about moving out there, but our youngest son is just finishing college this year. He'll finish early next year, and then that's when we'll probably close up shop here and head out to the West Coast.
Okay. Well, I want to wish
more than likely. What?
I want to wish you luck with that.
Well, no, I mean, we probably won't be able to do it quite yet until COVID is definitely done.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, you can move in the midst of this. You just have to be careful. So, houses are selling like hotcakes actually around my area. Oh my gosh, they sell in 2 seconds.
Yeah, I bought this 10 months ago.
Oh, okay.
And I love it. I moved from Maryland to PA, and I got this house on the steel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I want to thank you for your time that you've given us this evening. And it was an honor and a pleasure to have you join us here at the Lion's Den, the QI podcast. And I can't thank you enough. It's been an honor. It's great seeing you. And we're looking forward to hear more from you in the future.
Awesome. Yeah.
You have a great night, sir. And thank you so much, Mr. Fink. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Take care. Good night.
Good night. And that just about does it for this episode of the QI podcast. Coming up on our next episode is a special 3-part season ending series with a very, very special guest from Purple Land. So I will see you on the next episode.